Hello, good morning. It's Friday and I thought it might be nice to show you guys the powertrain that's going into Notorious. Do you think it's funny, the Notorious GMC? I thought it was hilarious. Anyway, what have we got here? So, this is a bit of a weird combination, certainly one that I haven't tried before. What we've got here is a OM606 engine that's been fully rebuilt, my usual rebuild standard with all new bearings, etc., all genuine parts. However, there's a few little upgrades in this one. So obviously we've got upgrade connecting rods, got upgraded valve springs. These are the heaviest valve springs in here because we've got bolted to it. Oh, it's nice shiny angle. A Ken Bell 2.8. I am surmising it's a 2.8. It doesn't actually say on it, and I haven't been able to contact them. I've tried email and phone call and stuff, and it hasn't really worked. But I think from the measurements and my guesstimation, that's a Ken Bell 2.8 litre supercharger. Now, why don't I know what I have bought? Well, I bought this second hand off a chap that used to work here. And I think it was originally for a Mustang SVT Cobra, you know, the 04 Terminator ones, the cool ones that look a bit like a Nissan R33 Skyline. Anyway, they're supposed to make about 650 wheel horsepower in a Mustang, which is on a 4.6 litre engine. I think they do about 750-ish at the engine. This is according to Ken Bell's website, if this is a 2.8, which I believe it is. So this 3 litre diesel engine is going to have plenty of low down air density. However, I'm totally unsure as to how it's going to work out, because having never supercharged one of these engines before, it's an experiment, isn't it? So I'm going to obviously put it on the dyno and find out the results. Now, that's that side of the engine. The other side of the engine, turbo. So we got an S300. You're looking at me as if I've made a big mistake.
No, you haven't. Can we spin it round? Can you spin the engine on the hoist? Because the light.
You can move, you know, your legs will go that way.
The light is so much better at this angle. The quality of the picture is so much better.
How do you know? Like, how do you know what it looks like there?
Okay, that's actually all right. Can you sack me?
Who knew?
Please?
I would love to, but I just, what is it? Good something is hard to find. Good
help is hard to find.
Yes.
But you don't think I'm good?
Good help is hard to find. Yeah, well, all round, as an all-round, I would say good. Annoying, but good. Right. So on this side, we've got 66mm Borg Warner S300 Turbo, one of our cast stainless manifolds. I was going to go with a billet manifold, but I don't have any on the shelf at the minute, and I'm quite keen to push the limits of the cast. So, cast manifold, and obviously if you've seen our cast stainless manifolds, the T3 and T4 pattern, these are T4, but obviously the T3 holes we've machined out, so it's larger. This little cod piece is to keep the turbo cool. Well, it's not to keep the turbo cool, it's to keep the engine bay cool and to keep the turbo hot. Because what does a hot turbo do?
It makes hot air.
It gives you more energy. More energy equals more power.
More heat.
Hot turbo is important. So we're going to keep that wrapped and keep that hot. So the very important thing is what's behind it. So I don't know if you want to come this way or that way. I don't really care. But this is my Gearstar 4L80 Pro Series manual valve body, and what this basically is to people in Europe that may never have seen an American or GM transmission before, this is basically a transmission that would have been in things like Suburbans, you know, Chevrolet Suburbans, GMC Suburbans, heavier duty stuff basically that had big block petrols and some diesels and stuff behind them. this is a really good transmission. Even in standard form, they're really strong. In standard form, this transmission would be a 4-speed automatic. So 4th gear is in overdrive, 0.75 or 0.7 to 1 ratio, so a good overdrive. I can't remember the exact ratio, I'm sorry, but and it would have a torque converter lock as well. So a good gearbox. You know, if you were doing some highway mileage, you got your overdrive and you got your torque converter locks, that's good for efficiency. However, this Gearstar Pro Series is built with all kinds of goodies inside. It's got billet shafts, it's got upgraded drums and clutches and all kinds of things in there. I don't build auto transmissions, so I am not going to profess to be an expert in that, but it's full of trick parts. This is rated for 1200 wheel horsepower behind something like I might be wrong actually, I think it's 1400 wheel horsepower. Either way, behind a, you know, supercharged or turboed big block V8. So that thing's capable of handling more than the power that that's going to give. And also, this is the best bit. This is the best bit. So normally, these transmissions are electronically controlled. They have a controller, very basic controller, but they do have a controller. This one doesn't. So this has been converted internally to a mechanical valve body, which I love. Amazing, isn't it? I fucking hate electronic controllers. They're just full of problems. Do you know why I hate electronic controllers? They don't marry well with a mechanical engine. There isn't a way of putting enough sensors. Well, there is, but nobody does it. Putting enough sensors on a mechanical engine so the gearbox can read what's going on. The gearbox doesn't know the air density. The gearbox doesn't know the load applied. The gearbox doesn't know if you're going up and down a hill. There's many, many things the gearbox doesn't know when connected to this mechanical engine. So the normal way of doing it, people just hook up a boost sensor and a throttle position sensor, and it's just not enough. And it causes problems. Anyway, we haven't got those problems because this transmission, and the reason why I select it is because it has an overdrive, it's super strong, and mechanical valve body. Now, that transmission isn't cheap. I think what you're looking at there is about $10,000 or $12,000. And then we've got the billet converter that goes in it. But sometimes you have to pay to play, don't you? A standard, you can put a mechanical valve body in a standard transmission, but you won't get trans brake like that has. You won't get SFI bell housing like that has, and you won't get the billet converter. This actually doesn't have lockup anymore, so this is permanently torque converter. Something else you need to know about going with a full manual valve body transmission like I have. Obviously, the whole point of having one of these and the high stall converter behind a 606 is so that we can get away from that lag session at the bottom of the RPM range and we can get it straight up into the boost zone. That's the benefit, which you can't do with a 722.6 because the torque converter's too low stall. So the benefit, because it has a high stall converter in, which we need for the 606, that applies itself really well to a full manual valve body. Because when you go to a full manual valve body, the transmission no longer can regulate hard or soft shifting. In an automatic transmission, it not only regulates at what RPM it shifts, but it also regulates how hard it shifts according to how much throttle you're applying. And this is where it all becomes complicated when connected to a mechanical engine. So with a manual valve body, you physically determine the shifts. You go, right, second gear and it does it, third gear and it does it. It doesn't have a choice, and it's not delayed like, you know, when you drive an auto and you click it into third and you wait 15 minutes and then it shifts. It's not like that. It's literally like you click the gear, boom, it's in. But it can't regulate the shift strength or the shift firmness. So you get full shift firmness, which is like literally ripping off the clutch. However, that only occurs when the torque converter is up at its stall speed. So we put in this setup, I think a 3,600 RPM stall converter, which means that everything under that 3,600, the converter is allowed to slip. It's like has this real nice amount of play, and it shifts gears as smooth as silk. It's amazing. So you could literally pick your parents up from the old person's home, and literally just, and they won't even know. But the second you go over that RPM range, even if you're only applying a little bit of throttle, bang, it's like trying to break your neck, which is what you want. You don't want that transmission to slip because you're going to burn it out. So there isn't anything I can say bad about that. And I don't think anyone can convince me without physical, tangible, having done it themselves or me having a ride in it, prove to me otherwise that there is a better combination. Because I've tried quite a lot of combinations, and to me, this literally, it's not just like a bit better. And there's no benefit for me to say this is better. You know, like, I don't sell these. So what would I gain by saying that this is the best transmission in my experience? So, yeah, absolutely amazing, and I can't wait to get it in. This is then coupled to, in the back, a Ford 9-inch rear axle. Well, it's not Ford, actually. It's a Curry custom-built 9-inch rear axle with upgraded shafts. And we got some A-link sort of triangulation on the back going on, so it isn't going to be tramping and twisting the axle about too much. Prop shafts all done. And how cool is it? Oh, and did we mention it has a billet injector pump with an ME BF 109 on the side. How cool is that? When you pop the bonnet at the shows and it's like, oh, is that a World War II aeroplane? Yeah, it is. Yeah, why did you do that? Well, why wouldn't I do that? Right, see you soon when I get this thing actually running in probably 10 years. Bye for now.